Hi, my name is Liz and I will be giving a presentation on self-healing bacterial concrete. This project is for Construction 160 Materials and Methods. My goal for this project is to educate you, my peers, on a new construction material known as self-healing bacterial concrete and the new developed process on how to use this material and also how we can handle this material on the job. So most of us are familiar with the material concrete and how it is manipulated and formed to produce ideal structures for on the job. A quick composition breakdown on concrete is the combination of coarse aggregates such as gravel, sand, and then we have Portland cement, which is a finer aggregate that is composed of more mineral agents. Water is added to the coarse and with fine aggregate mix. Water is added to the coarse, then we have the fine aggregate mix and the water and the Portland cement to have a chemical reaction called hydration. This creates a slurry binding agent, which is concrete. This process allows the concrete mixture to be manipulated easily and forms and adhere nicely around steel reinforcement, giving it structural integrity. I briefly want to touch on the pros and cons with using concrete in construction. First, concrete is a natural, abundant resource, making it a sustainable option. It's very durable, especially with rebar, which gives it a structural property. Concrete is fire resistant, which is very appealing to use in construction, and it is economical. It's not a pricey material. However, we do run into some issues with concrete. The major issue is cracking. This can be caused by uneven settlement to the building. Shrinkage can occur, causing more cracking. This could be due to rapid dehydration, either during the pour and or the curing time. Temperature affects concrete, also inducing cracking. And over time, weathering wears out concrete, especially if the concrete is entirely exposed to the elements. Because concrete has the tendency to crack, there has been a new product created called self-healing bacterial concrete in the process of being developed to self-fill up those cracks without external aid. Looking at the composition of self-healing concrete, none of the normal properties of concrete change. We still need the coarse aggregate, the fine aggregate, and water. However, there has been research done to add a mineral-producing bacterial to the concrete. What this means is research has found that there are specific bacteria that can chemically produce a mineral hardener to fill up small cracks in concrete. I don't want to get too science heavy, but I want to try to break it down further for everyone so we can all understand this. So, to have this chemical reaction to produce a mineral hardener, there are specific substances incorporated with the bacteria that acts as a catalyst. So a catalyst's purpose is to speed up the reaction's time, and what studies have found is adding a calcium nutrient, such as calcium lactate, it quickens the mineral hardener process. In other words, the calcium lactate is the food for the bacteria. However, the bacteria do not consume the calcium lactate until a crack starts to form in the concrete, and water or oxygen, just moisture in general, seeps into the crack. The oxygen from the water causes a chemical reaction, triggering the bacteria to germinate, which also means to begin to grow and feed off the calcium lactate, which then produces the end result of a limestone hardener. This limestone is insoluble, which means it is incapable of dissolving and filling up the cracks and hardens in place.
I found this awesome diagram that shows how the bacteria is activated when encountered with water. This figure comes from the scholarly article titled Self-Healing Concrete from the Ingenia issue back in 2011. First, the gray matter represents the cured concrete. The blue ellipse objects are the encapsulated bacteria pellets, and the brown vertical strip is the reinforced steel, also known as rebar. You will notice that in part A of the diagram, a crack has occurred and water has entered that void. Then part B shows that the water interacts interacting with the bacteria causes the chemical reaction to occur. More blue ellipses germinate, or also known as grow, around that area, producing the insoluble limestone. The yellow blob that has filled a majority of the void represents the limestone. This void is now capped and water can no longer enter the crack. The self-fixed act in blocking out water enhances the durability of the concrete. If the crack were to go unfixed, water would continue to enter through the crack and continue to weather away at the concrete, causing the crack to grow to an unstable size. Could result in structural failure.
Now the question is, how is the bacteria incorporated into the concrete, and how can we use this now bacteria-rich concrete properly? So far, there are two different applications on how to incorporate the bacteria in mineral catalysts. First, there is direct application. Direct application is adding the bacteria and calcium lactate after the concrete has been mixed. Pretty straightforward. The second application is by encapsulating the bacteria and calcium lactate with a clay pod or pellet. The clay pods are mixed into the concrete before the water is added. Then once the water is added, the pods are thoroughly mixed and incorporated with the concrete as like a coarse aggregate. Supposedly, when a crack forms and breaks the clay pods open, then the bacteria and calcium lactate have access to the oxygen to begin the chemical reaction. Since adding the bacteria and calcium lactate don't interrupt with normal properties of concrete, it seems like this type of concrete would be used for different structures such as footings, monoliths, foundation walls, columns, slabs, etc. It also seems that the handling of concrete during a pour would be handled like normal routine. Therefore, incorporating the bacteria and calcium lactate do not change the procedure on how construction uses the material concrete. Now, studies have shown that there are pros and cons to using self-healing bacterial concrete. I just want to highlight a few. So first, the idea of self-repairing cracks without like an external aid before the cracks can get any larger is a positive, hands down. Slowing down crack growth in concrete gives concrete a longer life cycle than it already has, making it an even more sustainable product if that's even possible. One study found that the bacteria can be dormant for over 200 years and then still be activated after that long of a period of time, which is crazy to me, which means we could use concrete for up to 200 years plus. Secondly, since the cracks will be self-fixed, less water will infiltrate towards the steel reinforcement, the rebar. And then since there will be less oxygen because we're decreasing the water penetration, air penetration, moisture content in the concrete, this decreases the rate of rebar from corroding. This is beneficial because the structural integrity of the concrete will last much longer, again making it another reason why it will be so sustainable. Some cons, though, are first, if concrete were to have the encapsulated bacteria instead of just the directly added in, the cost of concrete is much pricier, and it probably also takes longer to get batches of concrete with the encapsulated method. So if a large square foot building is like majority concrete, like a huge flat work slab, then the likelihood of using self-healing bacterial concrete is probably less of a chance. Also, with the encapsulated application, the size of clay pellets decreases the amount of concrete because the clay pellets take up roughly like 20% of the concrete volume. This can be an issue because reducing the volume of concrete can lead to structural failures, and in concrete, we do not want that. In construction, we do not want concrete failures.
Okay, so after learning about self-healing bacterial concrete, we can assume that if this were to become a common material for construction, we would find this under Division 3 in the CSI master format. Division 3 is concrete, which identifies all different applications of concrete. Hopefully one day we will see self-healing bacterial concrete listed. I have not been able to find much information on any construction projects that have used self-healing bacterial concrete at a large scale. It may still be in the testing phase to see how it would work for a larger slab on grade or for a structural member such as a grade beam. Also, we know that the self-healing concrete is much more expensive than normal concrete. In 2015, it was reported that per square meter it cost around $33 to $44, and with inflation, it probably costs more today. However, there are less expensive options with self-healing concrete. There are other products made with bacteria and calcium lactate, such as a repair mortar and/or in a liquid repair medium. So, construction can still start small, working with self-healing concrete before jumping into using it for the entire project.